Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the Super Vader 400 and the brown skin Hewitt, coming back at you with another video cartoon intro remake review intro. This is the intro to various remade cartoon reviews and rants. For some odd reason, even though I did do this in the past, when it one of the Sonic songs I used has a copyright on it, and it's not a big deal. But if I ever when I decide to set this channel up, when I get eligible for monetization, I can't get any money from ads from the video, so that's why I'm just redoing it with two different songs that surprisingly don't have copyrights on them. This version is the same as the last one, except my clothes and stuff will be different, and of course the intro songs will be different. Instead of using what I'm made of, I will use the songs intros will be Weekend and Sonic's Back in Time. And for cartoons that do deserve a rant, or for videos that do deserve a rant, what I'm made of will be used as the outro for the various cartoons. So yeah, this is the intro to various narration. Part 1 will be narration. Second part will be season and episode webcam reviews spliced together to one video. Some of these won't go on all platforms. Yes, some of these will only go on YouTube, and some of these will only go on Facebook. So with that being said, let's get started right now. Let's go back in time to when television and cartoons were great. everybody, it's time for my late out of date review of the 1986 Joe Ruby and Ken Ruby, Joe Ruby and Ken Ruby of Ruby and Joe Spears of Ruby Spears Production, Ruby Spears Production Studios, the 1986 sci-fi mecha classic, The Centurions. The Centurions, which I first discovered which I've had multiple encounters with this cartoon. I first discovered it in the mid to late 90s when Cartoon Network, when the Tuna Broadcasting acquired this show and many more for its upstart Cartoon Network channel. Then I caught the show again in the early 2000s on Cartoon Network's early mornings and late nights Boomerang block. Then I watched it on and off again in the mid to late 2000s and early to mid 2010s in various episodes in random order. And ever since then, since encountering the show, been a huge fan of the show. Like I've said in plenty of videos where I talk about Hanna-Barbera and Ruby Spears cartoons, I enjoy these classic cartoons more so than the modern cartoons that were on at the time, such as Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Powerpuff Girls, etc. There was just something about a lot of these classic Hanna-Barbera and Ruby Spears based cartoons that was just more appealing. This cartoon right here is a cross between and I think it was created to compete with that Hasbro's G.I. Joe Transformers cartoon, except this is, in my opinion, this is way more exciting than both of those, even though those shows were bigger and much more successful. A cross between those, the various Marvel and DC cartoons and comic books at the time, Iron Man and Power Suit Lex Luthor. This is what that show is. It's a Marvel and DC cartoon. Only everyone has Iron Man, War Machine, and Power Suit Lex Luthor's costume and powers and abilities, and it also plays it like the action movies of the 80s, the various action movies of the 80s and 70s. So yes, this cartoon was really a product of its time that still holds up today. Yeah, the Centurions. Already I was immediately a fan of this cartoon because the armored suit, the mechanical or mythical, depends on the lore. The mechanical or mythical. This is mechanical. The mechanical and mythical armored suit is one of my all-time favorite superpowers and abilities, weapons, etc. The reason I never ever really talk much about this cartoon is because there was the only flaw of this cartoon is, just like with Visionary's Age of Magic, his successor, Hasbro's successor, too much happening at one time to keep up with everything. So as such, I couldn't really put together materials for a review. But now I watch the show, I have a better understanding, and then I have this new style where I do a short narration review of the events I saw, of what I just saw, and then continue watching and continue reviewing, since I like doing multiple reviews. Yeah. I've watched the 5-part miniseries and episode 6, and so far each episode I've watched is what's his name? Now, while I did complain about it being hard to tell what's going on, this show is much clearer because than Visionaries, because it has less heroes and villains, so it's easier to keep track of who keep track of who's who, and they do a good job of differentiating each character, weapons, abilities, and powers. Much better job than Visionaries, so this was better executed. While Visionaries, plot wise, is still better than this, this was better executed than Visionaries. Age of Magic. Magic. Other flaws I would have with this cartoon will be various inconsistencies, which I'm going to get to. But other than that, phenomenal cartoon. Not only one of the best '80s cartoons, but one of the best cartoons around. I like all of the characters with one in the if I like all the characters equally. But if you had to choose, my number one favorite would be the guy in the blue, Ace McCloud. He is the first one I think of when I think the Centurions. Is Jake Rock. I think it's Jake Rockwell, the guy in the yellow and black suit. And then you got the third. You got who would be my third favorite, the de facto leader of the team, Matt Reeves. But that's if I had to choose in order. I like each equally. Then number four is Crystal, the female helping them. Helping them. Five and six are the other two, Red Charger and John Thunder, who I don't think have I been introduced to those two yet. They're the two other ones, especially John Thunder. He was added to add cultural diversity to the show, according to Wikipedia, similar to Apache Chief and El Dorado from Super Friends. Then you got last but not least, and then you got 7 and 8 bad guys. Doc Terra, half human, half cyborg, and his henchman, his dim-witted but strong and ruthless lackey, and according to Wikipedia, first experiment, Hacker, who are pretty cool for 80s cartoon villains. You know how I feel about the 80s cartoon villains. The 80s cartoons had some great villains, but see, in those shows, the 80s cartoons had those guidelines, and villains couldn't win. The heroes have to triumph. But these are great villains who come close numerous times to defeating the heroes. So despite being your stereotypical 80s villains, they're formidable enemies and opponents for the main characters, the Centurions. The Centurions. Before I get to the storyline and more about the storyline and lore, here comes a series of tributes. Unfortunately, a bunch of people involved with this show are now deceased, including the main creators of the show, the people who brought you, the studio who brought you this show, Kim Ruby and Joe Spears of Ruby Spears Production. Both of them are dead. Both of them, sadly to say, died in 2020. I knew one of them died, but I didn't know both of them died. Yeah. Thank you, Kim Ruby and Spears, for making mine and many other people's childhoods, creating awesome shows like this. And then you got then I was gonna save this for later. I'm gonna talk about it right now. Then you got the director of this show, William Woodson, the late William Woodson, who died in 2017 at the age of 99. He also did the Super Friends. He's also did the narrations for the Super Friends cartoons, and he had one of the most hyped voices ever. His hype voice played over the awesome Air Force theme, intro theme, gets you hyped to watch this show right here. Then you got God rest his soul, and once again, thank you for making mine, my my parents, uncles, and grandparents' childhoods too, with that awesome voice of his. Yeah. Then 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 you got lots of legendary writers were involved, such as the late Larry Tildo, who the late Larry D. Tildo, who wrote many episodes for He-Man and She-Ra cartoons. He, sadly to say, I had no idea he died. He died in 2021, and so did I think his name was Michael Reeves. Michael Reeves, who died earlier this year. Yeah, the other writers involved with this show, they're still alive. The other writers, including the head producer Larry Huber, they're all still alive. So yeah, yeah. What else about the Centurions? Yeah, and when it comes to actors, while a couple of them are dead, a good number of them are still alive. A good number of still alive. Only Vince Edwards, who voiced my number one favorite character, Ace McCloud. He, sadly to say, died. He's been dead for a long time. He died in '96. And Ed Gilbert, who I know as Major Disaster in the later produced Toxic Crusaders, he voiced Hacker. So yeah. And the late Ronald Aaron Feinberg, Ron Feinberg voiced Doc Terror. So yeah, rest in peace. God rest each of their souls, and thank you once again for making mine and many other people's childhoods. So yeah, now we get to the storyline. The storyline, according to Wikipedia, the storyline is Doc Terror, half human, half cyborg, wants to conquer the world and turn everyone into robots. Now, that's what they say on Wikipedia. However, when you actually watch the show, his plan shifts and changes from episodes. Sometimes he wants to rule the world. Other times, including the first episode, he wants to destroy it. That's one minor inconsistency. Another one is, I was going to say this for the miniseries, but in the fifth episode, it started as a miniseries. It aired for 5 episodes. Then the rest of for the remaining 60, was picked up as a full-length series for 2 seasons. The first in the 5th episode, Matt Reeves, he sacrifices his suit to save the day, which I didn't like, because I watched this show to see the awesome armors. I didn't like that. But in the next episode, I was only supposed to watch 5 episodes. I watched 6 just to see how he was going to get his suit back. And in episode 6, he shows up. With little to explanation, with that same with a brand new green and black suit, with no explanation how he obtained it. But other than that, phenomenal. Phenomenal cartoon. Yeah. This was the short narration version as the Douglas Blair Roberts YouTube social media based character. The larger, or at least more in-depth, real-life superhero version will be in the description box below. You don't hear the rest of the music? Turn the video off right now. When you